what is a fire adaptive community? And there's a couple of definitions because every community is different, and the different activities that go into a fire adaptive community are going to vary depending on the community itself. The National Wildfire Coordinating Group defines a fire adaptive community as a human community consisting of informed and prepared citizens collaboratively planning and taking action to safely coexist with wildfire. It's important to understand that in fire adaptive communities, the public understands certain components. In a fire adaptive community, the public also is going to take action. This is the holistic approach that the community needs to take under a fire adaptive community model. The community takes a variety of integrative actions specific to their community. Fire adaptive communities are for every community and they're unique. There are certain steps and strategies that they can take to improve their own resilience, and they will vary from place to place. All stakeholders share the wildfire risk. They have to become a part of fire adaptive communities. They have to help with the strategy and the stress. Everyone shares a responsibility. Fire adaptive communities is a process, again, a holistic approach. There is no ending defined point for communities striving to live more safely with wildfire because the work is never finished. At the heart of the process is this local collaboration and planning, coordination and action. It takes agencies, citizens, and all players have to get together and exchange ideas and information about these efforts and lay out strategies for moving forward together.
Tonight, I'm going to take about 15 minutes to talk about some real practical steps, last minute steps that you can take as a homeowner to protect your home when a wildfire is burning nearby or a fire is approaching your home. I'll talk a little bit about how you make that decision and what practical things you can do when you only have a few seconds to prepare. This doesn't negate all of the preparations that we've talked about through home hardening and defensible space. Everything we talk about tonight really depends on you also doing that hard work, but there are things that you can change as you're on your way out your door, even to evacuate, that can make a big difference on whether you come home to your house still standing during a fire. We're talking about things that you can do if you have 2 or more hours before a fire arrives. You need to give yourself some cushion. These aren't things that you're going to be doing if embers are falling in your neighborhood. So these are things that you might do when there's a red flag warning. Maybe there isn't a fire yet, but the conditions are just right for a fire. You can do each one of these steps. It's not going to hurt you to take a walk around your property and do these things. You certainly do these things if there's a fire, the typical fires that we see in Marin burning nearby. Not every fire is going to turn into a catastrophe, but you still ought to take these steps anytime there's a fire burning in your community, a wildfire. These are things that you would do if you receive an evacuation warning. I'm not going to go through that in detail. We've already covered that in several other presentations, lots of information online, but an evacuation warning and an evacuation order are 2 different things. If you receive a warning saying that you've got some time to prepare, that's the time to do these things. You're not going to do these things if there are embers falling in your neighborhood, those little bits of burning material or big chunks of ash. You don't do that then. That's a signal that it's time for you to leave. Yeah, these are things to do, again, if there's a small fire burning in your neighborhood, during a red flag warning, or if you've specifically received an evacuation warning message. Those warning messages will go out when we think you start to need to prepare for a potential evacuation at least 2 hours or more into the future. So if you've got time, if the fire department has alerted you through that warning message that you've got some time to prepare, 2 hours or more, go ahead and take these steps. You should be able to do all of these things in 30 minutes. And it never hurts to leave early. If you're in doubt, go ahead and leave. Don't take these steps if it's going to risk your safety.
I would just like to sort of set the stage by defining some of these things. The way that I think about mitigation strategies, and that is to separate them into what I call passive and active strategies. So passive strategies, these are things that you do long before the wildfire is threatening. You do them and then you just maintain them. What Todd had just talked about was what I would call active strategies. You do this prior to evacuating, and these are intended to have short-term benefits. So passive strategies, long-term benefit, active strategies, short-term benefit. You do before you evacuate and you undo when you return. I'm going to focus this evening on a few of the more involved strategies, gels, exterior sprinkler systems, and then these aluminized laminate wraps. So let's just sort of summarize. We've tried to present some of the pros and cons of strategies. We talked about gels, we talked about exterior sprinklers, and then these wraps. Passive strategies, those that you do and maintain, I think there's some proven benefits to them. Active strategies, you'll notice that there are just some potential gotchas when you use them, and things you need to consider when you implement them.